Yeah, that is a wizard's dream right there. Oh my gosh. Cool. Do you have a name for the land?
No. Welcome to Next to the Lamp. What's up? The Malapert Many? Man, that's it's been a hard one to get over, because like they were the Squid Squad and now they're the Malapert Many. And I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you. You're the real ones. Always coming back. I've been really inconsistent lately and I'm still getting downloads. So that means you like me. You really like me. Um we have an amazing guest on our show today. I'm gonna let him say his name because I'll butcher it probably because I'm not really good at that kind of stuff. You do want to move the microphone a little bit closer?
There we go.
There we
All
go.
right. Yeah. Hey, I'm Mikey Strongman from Western New York, traveling folk musician, and been ar- been around for a while.
Yeah. Okay. Been around for a while, huh?
Too long. Well, I don't know. I took a long break.
I thought you meant just life in general. Like too
Yeah, no,
long. Like
that
get me
too.
out of here.
I'm like 39 going on 75.
Mm, I feel that. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, if there's anything I do know, it's yeah, they like life is short, and you only say that when you're old because like then you like remember stuff, right? And now
Yeah.
like,
Like, man, I wish I would have had more time. I wouldn't have, fucked up in that way.
yeah, yeah, for real. Um, because like they said, the reason that time goes by faster when you're older is because you have less monumental moments,
Mm,
and days just kind of like blend together. So then like you don't remember anything because you have a routine, right? And so
for
like
sure.
you do the same things,
Yeah. I
for the
mean,
most part.
yeah, I mean, I can feel that definitely. Because I live in the woods, and with
Yeah.
like that farm lifestyle, it can get monotonous ish
Hmm.
because you do have the same routines, but really, like when you're dealing with animals and plants and all this stuff, there's new shit every day, and you're doing something different. So I think like my lifestyle, I feel like I do have a lot of different moments and a
Hmm.
lot of different like experiences, even even different than when I was younger too.
Yeah.
And experiencing it all without alcohol now is a big thing.
Oh, so you're on the sober train, huh?
For the most part, I like to think of it as I have taken control of my alcohol addiction.
Oh, okay.
So I'll drink maybe half an ounce at a time, and that will be like every couple of months. And it's usually for some sort of ritual purpose.
Okay.
Like I don't know, cheersing to friends that I haven't seen in a long time, or friends that have died, or like
Mhm.
just just more of a ritual, like medicinal sort of use of it, because I had a very long and hard problem with
Mm.
alcohol, and as a lot of musicians do, because
Yeah.
that's just like part of it.
It's part of the gig, man.
Well, like part of the payment,
Yeah.
you're getting like bartenders will give you free drinks all night, but as soon as you ask for a ginger beer,
Yeah.
they start charging you. And it's
Right.
well, and I understand it costs more than it does like a beer on tap, because beer on tap, it's not.
Right, right,
So
right. Yeah, I mean, I'm also, like, there with you on the sober stuff, so alcohol to me, it shouldn't be as normalized as it is, you know?
I think it's one of the more dangerous substances
Yeah,
that are available to us.
historically
Yeah.
speaking,
Yeah.
the
I
numbers
mean,
don't
wars
lie.
were started on alcohol, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't think anybody smoked a joint and was like, I want to bomb that fucking country.
right. Yeah, for real. Smoking weed and like, "I'm gonna go kill a CEO."
Hmm.
Yeah, smart people. So, you say that you're part of the gig, part of the band, part of the, living life on the edge, one
On
day
the
at a
road.
time
Yeah.
type guy. What?
Fluid.
Yeah.
I like to think of
Okay.
it as fluid, being drinkable.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I would say kind of the same. Like I don't really understand how they have so many like normies out there, like non-creatives, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, they're still kind of like creative.
Well, I think a lot of times the people haven't really had it, uh, they haven't been empowered enough to experiment or explore. Like even like a music is a good example because in my belief, everybody is a musician because we're all born with the same instruments, our voices and our hands and feet to make
Hmm.
sound.
Right.
And um and just the breath from our lungs, like flutes and drums were like amongst the first made instruments,
Right.
you know. And but we're all born with a voice. And in modern society, a lot of people are, you know, they see musicians and pop stars and all this stuff and they compare themselves, "Oh, I will never be that good,"
Yeah.
or like, "I'm tone deaf," or whatever. But you know what? In my opinion, first of all, music does not have to sound good.
Yeah. That's evident.
And it's all, it's all subjective. And also, like, I don't know, I always try and empower and encourage people to use their voice and to explore in that in that way. And I think when you put it with just in day society, like just being an everyday person, like we're not empowered to do that. We're not empowered um, to explore new things or to do things that we aren't comfortable with. Like a lot of people will just straight up give up if it's not easy, or give up if they don't have all of the information instead of trying to find the information and maintaining the things.
Yeah. I can say that it's hard to blame something like being held back on somebody else, right?
Mhm.
But I was being held back by myself, worried about the concerns of others.
I'm right there with you, hon.
Yeah.
Right there with you. I'm and trying to unravel that shit is one of the
Mhm.
hardest things ever. Like
Right.
trying to unravel the toxic people pleasing
Mhm.
mentality is like because I'm the youngest brother. I always wanted to do good. I
Mhm.
also grew up in very abusive, toxic household.
Cool, 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 cool.
So as like a child, I just I didn't want anybody to be upset ever. So
Mhm.
I always did the things that
Right.
but I was also a bad child too outside of the household, you know?
Oh,
Like
same.
I
Yeah.
go break windows and all that shit. But
Uh, yeah, I broke a few windows.
yeah.
But I was a middle child, so, like,
Yeah.
uh, and then when we moved to Wyoming, I became the oldest child because my older brother stayed in California. So, like, it was a whole different thing, right? Like, I don't know. It was a mess, but I understand you there for sure. And so it's like I said, it's hard to, like, blame that on somebody else when it's your own, like, opinion about their what they would think
Or it's
essentially.
just like projection,
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
imposing that.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, and I mean, that's kind of what got me into this recent transition that I'm in, where I have to leave the homestead that I've been dedicated to for past 6 years physically, but I've been working towards that property for like 12 years,
mm,
and I have to leave that. It was just there's a long story, but basically, having to leave there um, has made me like I don't know. Because what I was doing wrong there was I was doing all of this shit
mhm,
that I wanted to do, but I wanted help with,
yeah,
and the person that I was with, it was not her project. She didn't want to help me with those things.
mm,
And so I projected all this shit like, "Oh, well, you're not helping me with, the garden or with the chickens or whatever." But to me in my brain, I was like, "That's just homesteading."
right,
But for other people, that's like extra stuff. That's like to her, that shit that I was doing was not important. What was
mm,
important to her was paying the rent and like stuff like that.
Yeah, real people stuff.
Which I just realized, I just can't live with capitalists. And everybody's a capitalist to a certain, even myself,
Right.
to a certain extent. But I work so hard to make that not be like I do a lot of work trade. I do a lot of bartering. I do a lot of, you know,
Yeah. So you're telling me your credit score is real good.
in like a social human way, yes. But yeah, no, like I am. Everybody who knows me knows that I'm not financially dependable or reliable, man.
I
Um,
owe a lot of people a lot of, like, actual tangible money.
Oh, no, actually, I don't do that. I don't owe anybody, but a lot of people will, like, save my ass with, like, a
Speaking of,
couple
can I
$100.
stay here a few days? Like,
"Hey,
just lay
man,
low.
like, this chair's pretty comfy, Like, mind if I take a nap for 3 days or so?"
Yeah. 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 Oh, I've been there. I've been there. So, how did you get into music then?
Uh, well, at a young age, my mom tried to teach me piano, and I had a trouble. I don't know. Being taught things by your mom is like not
Super
very.
lame,
Yeah,
dude.
it's
I
not
can't
very
learn anything from
fun.
my mom.
Yeah, you just want to say no to everything she tells you to do.
Right.
Um, but so I gave up on the piano and then was playing cello and strings in like sixth grade or whatever. And my strings teacher told me to not play music anymore, that I had
Or
no talent and that I
oh,
was terrible. And so I was like, fuck you. I dropped out and then went to I joined the band,
mhm,
like the school band as drumming, and then I like ended up being like the top like kit drummer and timpani drummer and stuff like that
mhm.
until I pissed off my band teacher so much that she kicked me out
Nice.
because I mooned the classroom. Like I said, I was a bad kid. Um,
Sounds like it.
and then by the time I was like 13, I was playing in a punk rock band with a bunch of like 17 and 18-year-olds.
Mm,
And that just kind of, I just played, but I was playing guitar. I had to learn guitar for that punk band.
okay.
So then I just kind of like, I've always just enjoyed learning new instruments. I don't even think that I'm like particularly good at any one instrument because
Mhm.
of that,
Right.
but I can improv with just I can make anything sing, you know.
Mhm.
Like but so then I just kept going and I played in a psychedelic rock band called The Conquerors out of Kansas City for like years and I was their first and worst drummer.
Oh, oh.
They've gone through a lot of other members and they're no longer a band, but most of those people are in a band called The Whiffs, which is actually kind of a big like garage rock pop band over in Europe. Um
Oh,
anyway, so I dropped out of that band and then started doing the 20,000 Strongmen stuff,
right.
which is basically the concept was I'm this scrawny motherfucker and
Right.
it's just one me, but I can project like 20,000 people. And then it kind of grew into the name where as I traveled around in my short bus for I think that was like probably about 6 years I traveled around in the short bus, everything I owned in there, playing from town to town, busking, gas jugging, doing all the, crusty traveling shit. And, making a lot of connections and basically having families all around.
Mm,
Um, and I had a revolving band. Basically, I would play in Tucson and call whoever was available, and they'd shut up. We practice once and then play.
mm,
So it was always cacophonous and crazy, but it was like a fun experience. Like I
right.
said, music doesn't have to sound good. Like
Right.
I look back at some of that stuff and I'm like, man, that shit was just a shit show.
Mhm.
It was crazy. Um and then for about 5 years, I traveled with, my partner at the time, Cat, and we when we performed together, we'd call it the Cat and Mouse Show, but we were always billed as 20,000 Strongmen, and so we toured together for a long time,
Mm,
just the 2 of us, and I felt like she held me back in a lot of ways,
mm,
because when we we didn't really have a good connection on stage with,
Mm.
like, banter and stuff like that, which
It's just like
that's what I
it's like,
do.
"Yeah, well, if you
So
play guitar better." "Shut up, bitch."
well, no, she would throw me
I
under
swear
the
to
bus.
God.
I'd start telling, like, a stupid story like I do and embellishing the fuck out of everything like I
Yeah.
do, and then she would just be like, "That isn't what happened, actually." I'm like, "Yo, like, don't you know the first rule of improv?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always say yes, and, you know?
Yes.
So, uh, once I got that property that, I'm now having to leave, that was
Mhm.
about 6 years ago, uh, Cat didn't wanna be part of that, and so then it was just me and my other longtime partner, Kendall,
Mm.
and so we were stuck with this 32-acre farm, 32-acre swamp forest,
Cool.
old growth swamp forest, like, kind of a rare piece of land in that area of Western New York over by, like, an hour west of Buffalo,
Mm.
and, so once I did that, I just buckled down. I was like, "All right, this is gonna be my forever home. I'm gonna spend all these years, like, getting it up to snuff, and then I can go tour again."
Right.
So I took about, like well, and then within that, 2 years of COVID, uh, lockdowns and stuff like that. So I spent 7 years not touring, playing around Western New York and sometimes Pittsburgh and stuff like that, but never really touring. And then this spring is when I started again.
Okay.
So
Here
all
you
to
are.
yeah, altogether it's been about like a little over 15 years doing 20,000 Strongmen
Dang.
or Mikey Strongman now. I changed the name because
Wow.
no one would ever, like you said, I don't want to botch your name.
Yeah.
Every time I would play as 20,000 Strongmen, they'd get it wrong. There's
How
like very few venues that would get it. Like
how
one
would they get
time,
it wrong?
they do 10,000 Strongmen or 20,000 strong, or one time it was just 20. Uh, yeah, it was just 20 men, and I was like,
Nice.
"That's creepy," and that's on a marquee, and I was like, "Oh my god, guys."
Yeah.
So
Am
yeah.
I going to a circus act? Like, what's going on here? 20 strongmen?
I mean, I used to perform with a lot of, circus, people and freak show people and burlesques.
I could
I
see that.
used Cat did a lot of burlesques, so
Oh.
we would do, like, these really cool live music burlesques where lots of blood and tits
Cool, cool,
and
cool, cool, cool.
shit sometimes.
Oh.
Not real stuff,
Oh,
but, just, like, shocky burlesque stuff. That's what I'm into. I think that shit's fun.
okay.
It's really fun.
Some play video games, some do
Some, put on
bloody burlesque.
tassels and fake blood.
Cool, 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 cool.
Yeah. I mean, the deeper you get into the queer performance community, the less you're surprised.
I have heard that. You're not the first person to tell me that, actually. Must be a thing. Must
Yeah,
be a thing.
sure
So,
is.
how many siblings do you have then?
I have 2 elder brothers.
Okay.
We're all 4 years apart.
Oh,
So,
snap.
but my middle brother basically raised me.
Okay.
So that's why I broke windows and, you know, may have had a hand in stealing a car at one point and
Oh,
stuff like that.
yeah.
Because, when he was going through his rebellious shit at like, you know, 14 through 16 or whatever,
Right.
I was like, whatever, 10. And
Yeah.
then so I went with him.
Right. Cool. Just doing hood rat things with your friends.
Yeah, I just want to do hood rat things with my friends. It turns out that the place that we would break windows at were like one of them. So they were 3 places that were getting under construction,
Oh.
and they were car dealerships.
Oh.
One of them was a Hummer, one was a BMW, and I don't
Jeez.
remember what maybe a Kia or something like that, but they, I didn't realize at the time how fucking, like, anarchist we were being,
Yeah.
and how, like, anti-establishmentary we were being by, like, breaking all these windows. We set them back a year in, uh, a building because we just kept breaking the window. They put them in, we'd break them again.
Dang. Jeez, damn kids.
I know, man. It didn't help that there was a big rock pile right next
That did
to
not help. That did not help for sure. Yeah, yeah. I remember my hood rat days. I That's gonna sound good for the listeners.
I'm so sorry. Let's start again with the rat days.
Yeah, hood rat days with my friends. Uh, I stole my mom's car. It was like a '99 Suburban. Um, Stole that for a few days. Um,
Did you find out?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, dude. There's one time I came home and I was washing the car at 4 o'clock in the morning,
Mhm.
and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Your car looked muddy, so I'm just washing it." I couldn't sleep. 4 o'clock in the morning. I was only 14, so like,
Yeah, not really in character, huh?
yeah, yeah, it's pretty funny. She started hiding her keys after that, but I
Good deal.
stole it for like a good week.
Wow, and we're, like, gone from the house for
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
where'd you go?
I was like 20 miles away. I was in Rollins. We lived in St. Clair, and I had a lot of friends in Rollins, so I would just drive to Rollins.
I'm not really familiar with the area.
It's like 20 miles.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So yeah, just hop on the interstate and just drive to Rollins. 14. Yeah. She was like, "What would the cops do if they pulled you over and you didn't have a license? You're 14." I was like, "I don't know. I'd assume arrest me and
Put me in juvie or
yeah,
something, yeah.
take me to your house." Like, I
Yeah, I mean,
don't
they
know.
would generally just, like, bring you back.
Like, call you and have you come pick me up. Probably not in your Suburban because that's what I got pulled over in,
That's what I
but something. Yeah, I was a hellion for sure. I got arrested 4 times that year.
Holy wow.
Yeah, not for stealing the car for one, but other things.
Yeah.
Good times were had when I lived there, and so, you know, that's when my malapertness started.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I became malapert. Maybe I was doing malapert. I don't know. That's a hard thing to quantify there, but, so you live in New York. Have you always lived in New York?
No,
'Cause you mentioned Kansas City in there.
yeah, well, I was born in Kansas City, Missouri,
Ah,
but, I haven't lived there in, like, 18 or 20 years, so
right.
it's been a long time, but have lived I've lived in lots of places, but, about 8 or 9 years ago is when I moved to Western New York. I used to go there 2 or 3 times a year, on my tours in the
Yeah,
short bus, you know?
yeah.
So I had a community there and everything like that and fell in love with that town. Um, but so I lived there for a few years before we found the property and moved out there.
Mm,
So, and I lived at the property for 6 years. So it's been but I guess I've also lived in like Tucson, Arizona for periods of time in my life. Athens, Georgia. I started a farm in Nebraska for a few years.
okay.
And it's still a farm. I actually have a song called Hideaway Home, and that farm is named after that song.
Mm,
So it's like a hideaway farm.
okay, that's cool.
Um, which is funny because it's out in the middle of nowhere and all you see is fields and then the farm. So it is amongst the corn, but like,
Yeah.
you know,
After
big red
harvest, they're,
barn.
like, there.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
big red barn. You can see miles all the way around it.
that's pretty cool. Yeah,
Big sky country.
I haven't really traveled that much. Like, I
Mm,
know the Western United States pretty well, like, I've been to Washington,
love
Oregon,
Washington.
California, like, I'm originally from California. And so, like, um, Utah, all those places, right? And so, like, I haven't really traveled much farther east than, like, Kimball, Nebraska. I went to Florida one time, but I, like, flew over all of
Yeah,
it, so,
that
like,
doesn't that kind of counts, but yeah,
yeah, and I
yeah,
walked out in the ocean, so I guess that's the farthest east I've ever been,
that's
but
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I had really not spent much time east when before I met all the people from Buffalo,
Okay.
and I met them all down in Tucson. Actually, weirdly enough,
Oh,
like yeah, we all met at the same time. There was like 15 of us. We all fell in love, and then I went to Buffalo for the first time that year, and kept going back.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. I didn't really because I had just basically toured around the Midwest and the South,
Mm,
and I didn't really spend too much time on the West Coast. Really, like I mean, I've been there. I did California in the short bus, and then I did 2 tours in the basically Washington up to, or Washington down to, like, Southern Oregon,
yeah,
and I used to live in Vancouver, so BC, so that's about as the only my only Western experiences on the
okay.
coast anyway, but I love the East Coast, it's so much more I like it because it's more compact, but I also hate it because it's more compact, like, the
Right.
country there is like all these tiny little townships like butted up to each other,
Mm,
so you like don't know which town you're in, but
mhm.
like you're in some township. And out here, like you could go, you know, miles before seeing a house,
Right.
like dozens of miles. So, um, I don't know. That was very, very different moving out there. But what I love is the land, the
Mhm.
people. For some reason, really heavy, snowy, wintry places tend to have really great community. Like, the
'Cause all of them
people
almost died at least
Yeah,
once in the winter, you
yeah,
know?
and everybody takes it like, you're an asshole in Buffalo if you don't shovel the person next to you's, uh, walkway,
Mhm.
Like, it's just it is called City of Good Neighbors for a reason,
Yeah.
but you see it all around that Western New York and Central New York area where,
Mhm.
basically the non-yuppie places, like, as soon as you
Yeah.
get to, like, Ithaca and stuff like that, I don't know, they try to be good, but they're just a bunch of rich assholes, really.
Okay. I could see that. Um, so when you're writing music, is it lyrics first or melody first, or what's your process for that?
I mean, generally, I'll come up with um, a hook with a melody. A lot of times, it's like I'm improvising, just singing around with like someone in the kitchen, and then we come up with like a cool line. It's like, I mean, that's kind of how the line, I'd rather raise a puppy to do what he should than have to make a bad dog good."
Mm,
It's on one of my newest records, and that was just like we were just fucking around the campfire and
yeah.
talking, and we were currently dealing with a bunch of really bad dogs. But usually it's just like whatever is happening,
Mhm.
and I'll come up with a little song like you would be when you're like cooking dinner or something like that,
Alright.
and eventually it'll turn into something. A lot of times it's not anywhere near like what it started off,
Mhm.
but once I get that hook, I just build around that basically.
Okay.
And sometimes, like, I don't follow a format. So if a song just needs to be one line and then instrumentals
Mhm.
all the way around it, I'm okay with that.
Mm.
It's got to be a really fucking good line, though. And I also try. I don't know. Maybe it's just like my puzzle brain. I really
Mm,
like puzzles.
yeah.
So what I like to do is try and fit as as deep of a concept as I can in as few words as possible.
Mm,
So it will it challenges me to really, like, play on the words and make it all I guess, kind of like maybe writing some rhymes for a hip hop tune or something like that,
yeah.
where you're just kind of trying to convey a whole story in, like, 3 lines.
Yeah.
And, there were times where I had growing pains with it,
Mhm.
But as I got better with, um with just, like, banter, I started mixing in the storytelling in kind of like talky tunes like
Mhm.
Arlo Guthrie or some shit where we're
Right.
just like talking for a bit,
Mhm.
and then you come right back into the song.
Yeah.
Um, and that stuff also starts off improvised, and then I just kind of like pick a few things that I want to repeat, like a few
Mhm.
good lines, and then I'll just every time I tell it, I'll like leave those there, but I'll
Yeah.
improvise around that, kind of like a raga, you
Okay.
know, and I guess I do that with my songs too as they get older because I'm one of those people that like, so a firm belief that I have is that music, once you write the song, is yours, but once you play it for someone other than yourself, that's it's no longer yours, and it's open to be changed and to evolve and to be fluid. And if anything, I believe in fluidity in
Yeah.
music because you write a song, especially some of the songs that I write are so like personal um and shit that I change, right? And then that song that I wrote, there's a few lines in there that I'm like, I'm gonna change those. So then I'll basically like write new lyrics to my old songs and kind of like
Yeah, I get
revamp
that.
them as I go.
Mhm.
And that's kind of where I am now. Because I have quite a lot of material
Mhm.
and a lot of those older songs that I never really even played live but are on recordings have never really like been heard that much. So I
Mhm.
think that I can make them better. And yeah. So but that requires, I just like add I change the key or I play it on a different instrument and it
Right.
changes into a completely different thing.
Mhm. I get that. I
Yeah.
always like every time I perform like one of my songs, every time like I rap one of my songs, like you heard the beginning stages of a song I'm working on, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
I'll record it and then I'll listen to it and then like I'll hear different words that I should have used. So then I'll go back and I'll
Punch
like
yourself in it.
yeah,
Yeah.
rewrite it, and then re-record it. And I'll do that like 3 or 4 times before. It's like, like, "Oh, that sounds clunky there. What if I changed, a couple words or syllables even?" Like, it's all a math equation. Like
Yeah. Yeah. And like I don't know, I'm also really into like wordplay and puns and shit like that. So
mhm,
I always weave those in,
right.
And yeah, I think ultimately it's just like trying to figure out the most that you can say in least uh words, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think everybody works like that, but
Yeah. I know. That's why I asked, like, is it melodies first or, like,
yeah, I
guitars?
mean,
Like
and I come up with like musical melodies all the time. Like I
mm,
can produce an instrumental record like no problem.
right.
But once I start, I think recently I've had a few years of having a hard time writing because I feel like there's so much I want to say,
Mhm.
and then I get kind of intimidated by trying to put it into something.
That's what I have a problem with, like, I have a lot that I wanna say, and so, like, I feel like I'm not getting that rhythm,
Mhm.
but I'm saying like, I'm rapping for sure, but I'm not getting, like, the rhythm of, like, the stuff, so what I've been trying to do is slow it down
Mm,
to, like you said, say less with more meaning, right?
yeah, for sure.
So that's what been a really hard, thing of mine because, like, I've always liked, like, faster hip hop,
Hmm.
like, Ritz is, like, one of my favorites, Tech Nine, like
Fucking KC,
yeah, yeah,
Mr.
back
KC.
back
I
on it.
I smoked a blunt with that guy once.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really?
when I was like 22 something.
Dang.
Wait, my friend used to be a recording engineer at Chapman Studios,
Mm,
which is what Tech Nine used for a very long time
mhm,
until he built his own studio or whatever. But
yeah,
him and his crew would just be blowing up that spot all the time. They just like show up with like 10 dudes, and one guy would just sit in the corner rolling blunts. That's all he did. He barely ever talked, just kept handing blunts to people.
damn, that's dope. Yeah, I yeah, so I really like that kinda stuff, but at the same time, like I said, I gotta get more of, like, the rhythm and stuff, but at what point it's like that's your style, right?
Mhm.
Like, that may be what people are coming to expect of me because of how many songs I've written kinda, like, in that area, you know?
Yeah.
But different cadences, different deliveries of different words, like, I don't know. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to consider.
Yeah, and well, and I think that considering your audience is only a small portion of at least for me,
Mhm.
of the importance of producing. Like, I think that if you're constantly I mean, yeah, you'll probably make it in the music biz if you're constantly concerned about like, okay, how can I produce music that these people are going to want
Yeah.
or expect from me?
Right.
I guess that's just kind of my like antagonist sort of personality in ways like I want to push people, you know.
Right.
So if you like my sets range from like music that's like kind of like a Sam Cooke song
Mm.
and then to like something that would be similar to like a Roscoe Holcomb, like really down in the dirt
Yeah.
Appalachian sort of banjo tune, you know. And I even mix in some kind of Indian drone stuff in with my music too. So I because because I want to keep people on their toes, and also I get bored really easily. Like
Mm. I get that.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm interested in too many different styles of music. Like I barely ever listen to American folk music.
Hmm.
Barely ever.
I liked your kickbox,
Yeah.
your
Um,
drum.
yeah, I'm a woodworker too, so I built like a cajon type of thing
Mhm.
so that I could but you know, cajones you can't open them. So then I
Mm.
like tried to design something that sounded good enough that could also just everything right there, the bass pedal, the tambourine box, the boot, and all that stuff can all fit right in to it. And then so it would be yeah. So I made that. That was like one of my first things that I built. And I was like, oh, because I'm also new to woodworking. Like I've only been
Mhm.
doing it for about 5 years, you know.
Okay.
And so that was one of the first things that I built. And I had no uh like knowledge of how to really do it, but I did it and I was like, I'll rebuild it once it starts falling apart. And it's like totally fine. So, you know, I haven't I'm one of those people that, you know, if it may be janky, but you know, if it works, don't don't fix it till it breaks.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. So, when you're deciding on a genre or, like, do you always go, like, "Well, this is the feeling I want this song to portray," like, it's
Yeah, I think it's like I'm not even thinking about genres or artists really
Mhm.
a lot of times when I'm doing that kind of stuff. It's like what that song requires.
Right.
Like if that song requires, you know, like a drum kit, then I'll put
Mhm.
it in there, you
Yeah.
know? Um, but that being said, there are many different versions that you can do of the same song. So you can, I don't know, I've done upbeat versions of slow songs and vice versa of mine that almost sound like completely different genres if you just like change the instrumentation, you know?
Yeah.
And or hell, even the tempo.
I know.
I used to like way back in the day, like the first couple albums that I put out, like Wingnut Gumbo, it sounds like I'm on fast forward because I was trying to play as fast and as hard as I possibly could.
Cool.
Which came from busking, right? Like,
Yeah.
because you want to engage everybody, so you're playing loud, you're playing fast, you're like trying to make eye contact with people, and so I was doing that in a recording situation, and I I I guess people still like that record. I don't.
Yeah.
But, it is like I'm glad that I've learned dynamics and intonation and stuff like that because that's what I was lacking for so fucking long.
I had the question with one of my friends the other day that was like, at what point, like I want to show an evolution as an artist, right? Like
Mhm.
I want to keep my early stuff out there to show an evolution
Yeah.
of it, right? But there comes a point in society where that could be like cringe, right? Like there's been a lot of artists lately that are like, oh, lyrics didn't age well or like,
Yeah.
like that song is like cringe, right? As the kids say these
Sure.
days.
Yeah, I'm so trying to get a hang on that,
Yeah.
on this
So
voice.
like I want to show the evolution as an artist, but at the same time, I don't want to have to like, you know, cringe content, right?
Well, and that's where you redo the songs,
Yeah.
or, play them, rewrite some of the lyrics and play them again
Yeah.
or record them again. I do like having all of my stuff out there. Like, one of my favorite bands ever is Acid Mother's Temple.
Mm,
Have you ever heard of them? They've been around for so long, and they're really old, but they're probably about sometimes like 15 people in the band, but they're this Japanese psych noise
cool.
band, and they have probably at this point like close to like 350 albums out or something like that, 350 releases. And they've been playing since like I don't know, mid 70s or something like that,
Damn.
um, or mid or late 70s. But it's really out there. And the thing is, they record every improv that they have, and they just will play with different musicians and stuff like that. And then they'll just release it. They'll like, master the or do some EQ and then release it. And sometimes they'll just do like 300 records and then that's it.
Mm,
It's not out. So they have like when you go to one of their shows, their merch booth is four of those foldable tables, those like big ones that you'd see at like a lunchroom or whatever.
mhm.
Uh, four of those and like two people working it. It's
Dang.
nuts. And you just see all these CDs that like they just burn as they're going. They'll record at the place that they're playing at the next day when they're doing sound check or whatever. They'll
Mhm.
just like record a sound check or something like that. And so I like that idea because you're not only are you showing like how human it is,
Yeah.
how human music can be,
Right.
but you're also like it's it's unabashedly just being like, hey, this is everything, good and bad.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. Take what you want. And like they have some really fucking amazing iconic records.
Mm.
But I'd say probably about like 40 to 50% of their records of the ones that I've heard are kind of hard to listen to. But I love that about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
So that's kind of what's keeping me going as an artist is having an evolution of
Mhm.
art, like I don't want that to be the representation of me, right?
Yeah.
Like, because the EP, My Grievances, I was like last year was just I wrote it in 6 months and like recorded it and everything in like 6 months. And I was, in a really tough spot and like, yeah, just experiencing life, right?
Mhm.
And so when I did my Malapart Merc EP called I'm Killing It, check it out everywhere on it, where you can listen to music. But both of those, like one had the persona of like EDM, upbeat, like crazy stuff, right?
Mhm.
And then Flawed Motif was like really minor keys and like 70 BPM and like,
Mm.
hate and discontent.
So you had kind of like a positive, negative sort of feel to it. It wasn't
Yeah.
always like, yeah.
So whatever day I woke up, it's like whatever artist I wanted to work on that day.
Mm.
So like if I was feeling not as bad, then I would do Malapert Merc stuff. But if I was feeling like really bad, then I would do Plot Motif stuff. And I produced like everything on there and like
Mhm.
all of that was me. So um it was kind of like it was hard. But now I'm just working on the one solo project of well, kind of. I'm still doing Flawed Motif stuff, and I'm just releasing singles that way. And then the Malapert Motif mixtape is like the one that I'm dedicating a lot of time to. If I and like, okay, I wrote because like I write a lot on my phone,
Mm.
so like I'll write a bunch of stuff and I'll be like, oh, okay, like I'll pick up this concept today and see if I can run with that and go from there. Like I told you, I'm doing like 1 or 2 hours in the studio a
Yeah.
day, so like, and I have ADHD, so like I need to cycle through projects of like, okay, I'm working on this one or I'm working on that one, right? So like right now, the Malapert Merc and Flawed Motif are kind of like in the same energy field now. So like,
So you think you would blend the material to and just put it out as one?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, well, and that's kind of a metaphor about working through shit too, is like you're separating your feelings and your grievances and
hmm,
then learning how to make them work as a whole in your life because you don't get rid of that shit. It's always going to be a part of you. So you got to like make it work
yeah,
and trim it down to where it fits in your life,
right,
you know.
yep.
And that's that yeah. Sounds like what you're doing with music and yeah, also
Yeah.
with life. I think because music is I'm sure it is the same for you, but it's such a extension of yourself.
Yes.
Like during COVID when I didn't perform for weeks for over a year or whatever, I was having a really hard time with like managing my anxiety and
Mhm.
depression. And once I started doing like I tried to do a couple a month of like just little live at home live streams and stuff like that. And that's what kind of helped me break out of it because I was like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure performing is my medication for like some of my my problems. Like when I make that connection with people performing, it makes such a difference in the way that I feel about myself and the way that I feel like I'm affecting the world.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's gratifying in that way because
Right.
you're actually seeing it in real time, doing things for people.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah. Well, that's why 10% of my profits go to a charity of the month,
sweet.
whether it's album sales, streams, you know, podcast views, like whatever. Whatever I'm getting paid from,
Mhm.
gigs that I do, whatever I get paid from, whatever the company gets paid from, 10% of that goes to a charity of the month.
That's fabulous.
So that's another reason I do music because
Mhm.
it can be really lucrative if you
Yeah,
figure it out.
yeah, but then you're playing a game and you're not, you know, like which
Games are fun.
yeah,
Games can be fun. Unless you're like playing the game of life and they're like, oh, you have two more kids. Oh, you have another kid. Oh, you have five more kids. It's like, oh my God.
that sometimes
It's falling out
people
the
get
fan
those
here, people.
hands. Yeah, some people are dealt those hands, man.
Yeah. So like that's pretty upsetting. But like maybe this is also a simulation, right? So like maybe it's a game anyway.
I mean, I'm into that. Yeah, I always say I'm not like opposed to any uh like conspiracy theories, but I
Yeah.
do feel like I don't know. I guess I look at them in the same way I do as myths
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that. Like some of it was based off of some shit, some real shit,
Yeah.
but like most of it is just entertaining, and I like that. And there's good stories.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff is so out there though, like even flat earther stuff.
Dude.
Did you see the video of the guy that just like proved himself wrong
Yeah,
like
with, like, the
live?
laser light. Yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff. He's like, "Well, raise it up higher."
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. That whole documentary is really good.
Yeah.
I watched that.
You wanna watch a really good documentary that's kinda, like, on the cusp of that?
Yeah.
Is, Zeitgeist, Addendum.
Yes, I have watched that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, not the second one. I've only watched the first one.
Yeah, the second one, Addendum.
Okay.
That's a pretty crazy one
I bet.
because it starts out with, like, religion, and then it goes into, like, 9/11, then it goes into, like, world currency.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's wild. Yeah. Addendum. I watched that like 3 or 4 times, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't theorize these things. I listen, and I, interpret the best I can. And yeah, like okay, because I like to listen to all sides, all angles before I make a decision.
I think the ones that lose me are the ones that require like a bunch of bigwigs to work together, like a bunch of rich people in the world to work together. Because come on, they're not doing that. They're only like, like,
Maybe they are, maybe they aren't.
no. Well, I mean, have you? I don't know. Rich people don't like to work together. They like to tell people what to do.
Mm,
So, like, when they are working together towards like it's because they're pointed towards the same direction, like they're both
right.
trying to get something for themselves,
Yeah.
and as soon as that other person like doesn't abide by, or like they're not pulling their weight or whatever, bam, they're gone,
Mm,
and they drop them and stuff like that. So I don't, I really have a hard time believing that a lot of these uh like people all around the world are like intentionally working together. I think that their shared trajectories may overlap and they help each other
yeah.
fuck other people over.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but I don't think, I don't see it as like some sort of cabal or some sort of like, I don't know, cult. But I
Yeah.
mean, it is kind of a I don't know. It's all I don't really believe or disbelieve any of it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's
I don't
fun.
have enough information to
But the
make a
thing is, I'm
decision
not
for
gonna let
myself.
it, like, control the way that the decisions that I make necessarily,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, obviously uh, not supporting terrible companies, I try not to do that,
Yeah. I
you
get
know?
that. Yeah, I mean, I now I try to live life of like, 365 baby, living life 365.
Yeah,
But um is like, don't steal stuff, don't like hurt people. Like
yeah. I mean,
that's all you
don't
can
steal
do.
stuff from people, like, steal from
Yeah.
corporations.
Right.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, corporations.
I'm
Yeah.
totally down with that,
Screw
but
Walmart.
yeah.
Speaking of, today's episode is brought to you by
By hood rats just doing hood shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's funny that during like 2023, no, 2024, beginning of 2024, I was like not super like into like I wasn't motivated by anything or whatever. Like I used to be like super caffeine sensitive. And so I started like introducing that back into my life and stuff. And it just turns out I was just anxious for other reasons. But I found this company called Magic Mind, right? And they do like the herbal like shots, like the mushroom shots, like they got
Huh, yeah,
like lion's mane and stuff
I
in there.
make my own.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And so yeah, so I started taking one of those like once every 2 days or whatever, and like it helped with like my concentration and like my, you know,
Dude,
um,
turkey tail reishi, that stuff is no joke. It's so good for your brain.
yeah,
Like so the woods that I was living in,
yeah,
uh Ganoderma suge, the hemlock reishi
hmm,
grew everywhere in the hemlock forest, and then turkey tail,
yeah,
not the birch turkey tail, the turkey tail that grows on ash,
yeah,
and also tons of edible ones, but
hmm,
like oyster and hen of the woods and stuff like that. I'd
yeah,
find that stuff, but I harvested the turkey tail and reishi all the time every
yeah.
year, and I grind it up. I make tinctures, like double
Okay,
extractions. I'm an herbalist
okay,
uh, ish. Um, I do a lot of the growing and I do all of the processing and all that stuff, and I
okay, cool.
forage everything. I don't like the most is I'll buy some stuff from Mountain Rose,
Yeah,
which is a very good sustainable company.
okay,
Um, but yeah, the mushrooms are like, I wish I would have discovered it sooner.
hmm,
I wish I would have been into that a lot sooner because it really helps. It helps with my ADHD sort of shit where I'm
hmm,
like, and my anxiousness, I'm a little more focused,
right,
but you don't notice it until like a couple of days after. You know, a lot of that stuff, a lot of the herbal stuff is like accumulative
yeah,
in a lot of ways. So if you just take one and expect something to happen, you might feel a little bit, but it's not at its,
Right.
most.
Yeah, so you know these things can help you and like you know the importance of it. So that's why if you go to magicmind.com, promo code NTL20, that's how you
I fucked up your whole plug.
No, it's good. It's perfect. I love it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll check out magicmind.com
Yeah, dude.
for
They're
sure.
they're pretty good. Yeah, like I said, I'd take one every other day and that was usually pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
What else
so,
is in it though?
uh,
What else is in it? Turkey tail and like, is there like chaga or anything in it or?
dude, there's quite a few things in it.
Cool.
Yeah, I can get you the things, but yeah, if you go to they have it all pretty explanatory on magicmind.com. So
Sweet.
yeah, they're my favorite. Most tinctures don't taste great either, but
No, I
this
mean,
one isn't
a lot
bad.
of the medicine doesn't
Yeah.
taste very good.
Yeah, that's why you need a spoonful of sugar.
Yeah.
So now I have
Definitely.
taken medicine and I have diabetes. Gotta take more
Diabetes.
medicine. So we've gotten to that point of our podcast, sir, where we ask our guests the really important questions, you know.
Okay.
We found out where you're from, how you got into music, your family life growing up, like we talked about a lot of stuff. So I want to know, what is your definition of success then?
I like that fucking question. I think my definition of success is having like creating a life for yourself that is sustainable and that you are doing the things you love with the people that you love and sometimes for the people that you love
Yeah.
and are in generally happy
Okay.
with what you're doing,
Yeah.
whether you're like, because the bad is always going to be there. I'm not one of those good vibe only people,
Right.
but success to me is like, I mean, honestly, I feel like to myself,
Yeah.
based on my own, I feel pretty successful because I feel pretty happy and I feel like the things that I'm doing are important.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think that's really what it is like if you're doing something important for the people that you love that is sustainable, where um you're not just working for the money to pay for the food in the house.
Yeah.
That is like, first of all that shit can be free very easily.
Right. Yeah.
um like there's no reason for any of us to be starving. But like, yeah, I guess I don't really subscribe to, as you can tell, capitalism. So success to me is not money.
Right.
It's not owing money, not,
Right.
not having to worry about it as much.
Mm.
But like, I've also built the life where I just can do things for people in exchange for other stuff.
Right.
Or like, I grow a bunch of shit. I trade my herbs and stuff like that for other things.
Yeah.
So
Okay. That's a pretty good definition, right? We boil it down, it's just doing what you love with the people that you love and living life.
doing hood rat shit.
Doing hood rat shit with your friends. Yeah.
All
Okay.
right, I think we came back to it 3 times, so that's like the rule of comedy,
Yeah.
right?
That's that. Another question I like to ask is, do you like dream when you sleep?
Yes. Um,
Do you
a lot
remember
of
your dreams?
I usually remember them when there's a trigger throughout the day
Mm,
that reminds me of that dream.
okay.
Um, I guess it's pretty scattered when I do.
Yeah.
I think probably because I smoke so much fucking weed,
Yeah.
but
Right. Right.
I used to be pretty good um at lucid dreaming
Mm,
and doing like intentional meditations, like into sleep and then being able to do stuff. So I used to actually like really really work on it, and I haven't really been able to tap into that for a long time. And
mm.
when I was doing that, I had very vivid dreams all the time.
I have very vivid dreams every night,
Every night.
every single night.
Yeah. Wow.
I can usually remember them. Last night was different. I didn't go to sleep till 4 o'clock this morning, so
Wow.
yeah. So I was like exhausted.
I just no, but I mean, I went to bed at like 3 last night because,
Yeah,
but I played the gig, so
yeah. I didn't have an excuse. I just I just did. It just does. So you are very like not that very well versed, but you're versed in like improv comedy, right?
sure.
Okay. Um, set a scene, and we're gonna do a little bit of improv here.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Okay. How about I do a I come up with a place, you come up with a I don't know, character
Okay.
that characters that we're supposed to play or something.
Okay.
Um I am going to say a trailer park in Florida.
Trailer park in Florida. Okay. You can be Tim. Okay. He's a character who
Yeah,
is,
I'm Tim.
yeah, lives in the trailer park, but is only visiting for right now because he actually forgot his wallet at house and he's getting ready to fly internationally.
Boy, howdy. Yep.
Yeah,
Tell you
because
what.
you've always wanted to visit Iceland. Okay, and I'll be your neighbor. All right.
Well, Jerry, you ever hear about what they do up there in that Iceland? Like they I hear they can melt these glaciers into this delicious water. So I've been trying to do that in my fridge down in Florida, with dry ice and some regular ice, trying to uh, make my own glacier water, and uh, it has a little kick to it, but uh, I I drink a lot of water nowadays in my beer.
Okay.
Um, what kind of beer do you like?
And so this has been Next to the Lamp. I hope you guys loved it.
All right, didn't even get to the wallet part.
Yeah, that's the thing I've been doing to people on this show lately.
It's kind of brutal, dude. It's like
Yeah,
I like
it
it.
is.
I mean, I'm here to play. I'm cool. I wish you didn't ask me to act like a damn frog or something.
Yeah, that's true. I know. I've been.
I'd do it.
That's just something I did it to my last guest too. It's only been a new installment of the show,
How did they
so
respond?
yeah,
Was it I guess I'll check it out.
yeah. Jay Misty, that was a good show. I released it on Christmas, so it's a good show. Go back and listen to that or watch it. It's a pretty good one. Because um, my YouTube channel like got I don't know, there was a problem with it at the beginning of the year, and they got rid of all my subscribers, all my watched hours, like everything. So I'm starting over from scratch again. My
Hey.
MP3 downloads are still fine because like they weren't connected to YouTube. Like I have a different distributor for that, so like all of those are still fine. So that's where I'm still getting like listens and downloads. But yeah, my YouTube channel is got to start over. So I've been releasing like ones that I've been recording, and then like in betwum, I'm gonna start releasing like because I have
Old
100.
ones,
This will be
yeah.
180. This is episode
Holy wow.
180.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
That's a lot
I
of work.
have yeah down the drain, dude. I did it for 4.5 years, and they did that.
I mean, you still have the files?
Yeah, I still
Okay.
got 'em, yeah. I'm
Yeah,
not sure
that's
much about the beginning ones, but yeah, there's somewhere. I have two 8 terabyte hard drives over there, so there's somewhere.
that'll do it.
Yeah. So tell the people where they can find you.
Well, you can find me on MikeyStrongman.com, or Bandcamp, under Mikey Strongman. Instagram is 20K_Strongman. Um, and I will be in Colorado Springs on Thursday. No, yeah, Thursday.
If I do everything correctly, this will come out on Tuesday.
Cool.
So yeah, where
Well,
else are you going after that?
yeah,
More
so
tour
after
dates.
Colorado Springs, I'm going down to Albuquerque, and on the 7th, and then the 8th is Flagstaff.
Mm,
Um, don't quote me too much on this. It's hard to get all of the dates in my head.
right.
It's all on the website.
Yeah. All right.
But Yeah, thanks for having me a lot. This has been a really great surprise.
Yeah, yeah, because I was at your
Thinking
show
about you
last
last
night.
night. Yeah.
It's like, "Hey, you wanna do a podcast?" Yeah.
Thanks, John Poland.
Yeah, shout out Poland. Known him for a little bit.
Hail Santa.
Yeah. Awesome, and, you know, you guys are just as important as my guests. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, thanks for sticking with me through this year, through last year, I guess. I mean, this year is only 6 days in, but
It's off
yeah,
to a decent start.
it's off to a start.
At least it
So
ain't off to an end.
yeah, yeah, for sure. But every ending is a new beginning, right?
Is it?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I love you. Mwah.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.